Okay, it looks like it's 7 o'clock or close to it, depending on what angle you look at the clock from. So I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask you to rise for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. And would you call the roll, please?
Heaton.
Here.
Abbott.
Here.
Fuller. Haines.
Present.
Dunbar.
Here. This is the procedure for remote access and public comment at board meetings. Danby Select Board and Planning Commission meetings are open to the public in person and remotely, but they are not public meetings per se. Public attendees, both in person and remote participants who wish to comment on agenda items, will be given an opportunity at the beginning of each meeting to do so. As in the past, written communications may also be sent to the boards for consideration. Business is conducted and votes are cast only by board members. The chat feature is only to be used by remote participants to alert the host to technical difficulties. It is not for private conversations. To maintain order as well as the efficiency of the meeting, the rules for public participation are: remote attendees will be muted by the online host upon joining the meeting, remaining so unless recognized to speak. Participants should arrive on time and state their name for the record. Those who desire to speak in order to comment or question should use the hand-raising function and will be recognized in the order in which the hands were raised. Remote participants, when recognized, will unmute and clearly identify themselves by first and last name and the area of town in which they reside. Comments and questions are limited to 2 to 3 minutes. Anyone who desires to speak longer than that should arrange to be placed on the agenda beforehand. General ground rules are that speakers will not be interrupted. There will be no crosstalk between members of the audience. The speaker will treat the proceedings and other speakers with dignity and respect, addressing the issue and not the personalities. I will entertain a motion to set the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any additions or changes? Not hearing any. All those in favor of setting the agenda as printed, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that carries unanimously. Who do we have as virtual participants this evening?
We have Lynn Lawson, Lauren Dever, Bill Richardson, Gary Durr, Annette Smith, Sharon White, Doug White, Chris Hardaway, Terry Parker, and Michael Lees. And then we have an iPhone that isn't identified.
Okay, thank you. Do members of the public wish to comment? Now is your chance.
Lauren, Dever, and Annette both have their hands raised.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Lauren?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Great.
Very nicely. I'm asking about something that's on the agenda, the appointing of the State Ethics Committee Liaison. And I'm wondering, I don't know if you're going to talk about this when you get to it, but what is the process for making this decision who will be the liaison? And are you taking any letters of interest?
Let me read to you what we received from the State Ethics Commission.
Okay.
We are reaching with a reminder that pursuant to Act 171, municipalities are required to appoint an ethics liaison to serve as a point of contact with the Ethics Commission. Section 24 VSA 1995E states, quote, "Each municipality acting through its legislative body, shall designate an employee as its liaison to the State Ethics Commission. If a municipality does not have any employees, the legislative body shall designate one of its members as its liaison to the State Ethics Commission. The requirement goes into effect January 1, 2025. If you are a municipality that has already appointed an ethics liaison, please reach out to Peggy Delaney, and she gives her address with the name and contact information, and we will add them to our list. So it's either an employee or a member of the board, Lauren.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And Annette?
The agenda says that you were going to talk about the transfer station during your budget meeting if time allowed. Did you have that discussion?
No, we are going to have that discussion right after we adopt the minutes in a few minutes.
And can I ask, does anybody have any other, I appreciate that you have old and new business actually printed. Is anybody else going to bring any other old or new business in?
No, and that's why nobody offered anything when I asked if there were additions to the agenda, I guess.
Thank you. Well, I know things come in at the last minute and sometimes
They do.
that aren't on the agenda, so I'm going to ask that from now on.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My comment was on how we appoint or select a treasurer. I think it's always better if the town gets to vote on it. But another thing.
Oh, the town does, yeah.
Oh, okay. And we're all set with that. No comment.
And that would just be a possible question for the town meeting ballot. There are certain positions that can be appointed rather than elected if the voters choose to do so. Listers, a board of 3 listers can be replaced by 1 hired assessor. The town treasurer can be appointed rather than elected, and the delinquent tax collector, the same thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other public comment? Okay, we're going to close the public comment then, and I'll entertain a motion to adopt the select board minutes of November 14th.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Any corrections or changes to those minutes?
No.
Not hearing any. All those in favor of adopting the minutes as printed for November 14th, 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have a special guest with us this evening who is the chair of the Mount Tabor Select Board, and that's Matt Gasperetti. And I'm particularly proud of him for stepping up as a younger generation person and taking this role. And many years ago, I was his teacher at Courier School. Yeah, time flies. So, Matt, I guess our big question for you is, what can we do to make this happen?
Okay, so we're talking about in regards to Danby and Mount Tabor combining transfer stations, Danby going down to where the Mount Tabor transfer station is right now. We had our select board meeting, we just do 1 a month. I think you guys are 2 a month. No, you're 1 a month as well? Okay, we had ours last Tuesday, so I spoke to the other members of the select board, and I guess I first want to ask, what do you guys have in mind? What are you hoping for?
We're hoping to get a transfer station out of the garage area so that we can reduce potential hazards. Is a big issue for us.
Okay. Okay.
Traffic safety is like,
Yeah, with the hill.
no,
with people,
with what goes on here.
with the road crew trying to load trucks and people that feel their garbage is more important than the safety of other people's roads.
Okay.
And The other day, we had a weather event, so the trucks are being loaded, the loader's going back and forth putting in sand. We've got 8 cars in the parking lot that are either people that work in this building or doing research or something. And there's very little room to even turn around.
Sure.
And some of these people drive a little bit too fast to be in a lot, but...
Okay. So what we briefly discussed as a select board is we would be open to, ideally we'd like it if Danby took over all of Mount Tabor transfer station essentially, so you guys could run it as you would see fit. You know, you would hire who you would want to, whether it's Cliffy staying on, or I don't know how many attendants you guys have.
Just one.
And it's still Cliffy?
Still Cliffy.
Obviously Mount Tabor would be allowed to use the transfer station as well. We're open for essentially a no-cost lease to the town of Mount Tabor for the land, was a possibility we discussed. It would be a renewable lease for the intended purpose of only trash and transfer station. No natural resources, you know, no timber, gravel, none of that, because we have previously taken material out of there. So it would just be for transfer station purposes. You know, a couple of our concerns would be what liability Mount Tabor may have. If Mount Tabor, the town, would be on the insurance or any form of insurance, or have something such as a hold harmless agreement. In case an accident were to occur, we want to make sure the town's not liable for anything. And then pretty much you guys would be able to design do whatever you'd want. I know you guys have the trash compactor here. I don't think you're looking to do that at the new location. The only other thing I've got written down is that we would ask that there be no permanent structures without prior approval. So if there was a heating shack or something that wanted to be put up, to just run by the town of Mount Tabor first. So that's what we were discussing on Tuesday.
That's 2 questions for you. How long are you mentioned the idea of lease. Is this gonna be something in writing, a long-term lease?
I would assume so, and, you know, I can't answer any questions, you know, I can't speak for the rest of the select board, but, you know, we discussed, it could be anywhere from a year to 10 years, you know, we'd be interested in hearing what you guys had to offer and what your thoughts were.
Is there...
Shall we discuss that part of it now, or do you want to ask your next question?
Well, we can discuss that then.
I, for one, think it should be longer than a 1-year lease, because there's...
It would have to be for us to go through that and to get rid of this and go all that effort. I would think we'd have to have a long term.
Absolutely. You know, I would think a minimum of 3 years would come to mind, just to make it worth, you know, to make the juice worth the squeeze, I guess, you know. That there is no power at that transfer station.
And that was my second question. Is power's closely available, isn't it?
I believe so. I believe there's power right on Route 7 there.
Okay.
So we would have to run, you know, you the town of Danby would have to run a pole or electricity, whatever's required.
So back to the lease, I'm thinking at least 5 years.
I was gonna go by pretty quick for what infrastructure that we would have to set up. I was thinking maybe a 10, but that's...
Ideally, I can totally hear where you're coming from. Ideally, if we did something like, let's say we did a 5, ideally it'll work wonderfully and we'll just renew for the next however long. But I understand with the investment that, you know.
Well, and the other issue is going to be, if we get rid of the compactors here to move down to there, we've essentially tied our own hands at that point in time, because then we're going to have to release the compactors and get everything hooked back up here if we only go with a short lease.
Sure.
And on the lease, when you, I didn't quite catch the way you worded it, but is Mount Tabor expecting to dump their garbage as payment for that lease, or your residents will be planning on paying for their garbage?
We would pay for our garbage the same way that Danby does, whatever, and you guys would determine the price, whatever you do here. We pay what our residents pay, what your guys' residents would pay. So in that sense, I'm not sure. Yeah, I believe, yes, so the residents would be paying for their trash.
And what is your plan with your dump attendant?
I don't know if anyone knows Carl here, Carl Miller. He's been with us for a while. I brought it up at the select board meeting. I was actually going to say with you guys, I was going to ask that if there's any way that Carl could stay on, that would be awesome, but that would not be a formal part of the contract or anything. All we can say is that he's been a great attendant and good guy for anyone that knows Carl and his wife Joy. It'd be great if we could keep him on, but you guys would be able to run the place how you see fit, so that would be up to you guys. I do believe Carl and Cliff get along pretty well, and I could see them tag teaming it pretty well. And once again, hours and everything would be you guys running it. So Mount Tabor right now is Tuesdays 3 to 5 and Saturdays 10 to 2, I want to say, something along those lines on Saturdays.
So you're just open 2 days?
We're just open 2 days, but obviously with combining the towns, there'd be a lot more.
Well, we're open 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday.
Okay. So, and I believe Danby's population is right around 1,300, 1,300. Yeah, Mount Tabor, we hovered just over 200, call it 200 for an easy number. So there'd be about 1,500 potential residents. I know a lot of Mount Tabor, including myself, don't use the transfer station. And I'm sure there's Danby residents.
We have quite a few Danby people that have private pickup.
Yeah, my employer has a dumpster that allows us to use it, so that's how I know there's quite a few people like that.
What's your current turnaround on your dumpster?
That I'm not able to answer at this moment. I don't have the number in front of me. I could get it for you if you'd like.
So you'd pay for, Mount Tabor residents pay for the trash, no cost to lease, but Danby would be picking up all the personnel costs, all the other operating costs outside of you guys bringing your trash, and however we set that up.
Yeah, it'd be essentially, the same way that you run your dump now, except Mount Tabor is allowed to come and pay for their trash as well.
And we would be responsible for anything that we set up in there, from power to, roof over the dumpster. You guys currently have a roof over the dumpster, don't you?
I believe so, yes. It's, it would have to be reworked. We have one dumpster and, one loop around. So, I would imagine that the current setup right now, if you were to start tomorrow, I don't think would work for the two towns. I think you would want to reconfigure maybe how the loop goes around, or maybe move some recycling bins so that people can pull off. And, I imagine it would be rethought through, but that would be up to
But it does have a good traffic pattern compared to what we have, because there's a loop and nobody has to back up and all that business.
It's not too bad pulling out onto Route 7. It's, pretty good visibility. Cars are moving pretty fast on Route 7 these days. A little safer than out here at least.
Are we leaning toward a 10-year?
And, you guys we don't need to decide anything tonight.
No, but you need to go back to your board and say, this is what Danby would like.
Yeah.
Well, I just think to me, if the town's gonna commit to it, I mean, obviously, there'd be some limit to it, the longer the better, because like you said, once you move out of there, you're not gonna keep anything here. I don't imagine you're gonna keep anything here, cause,
No, because we're leasing the compactors. As soon as we're done using them, they need to go back. Because there's no point in paying a lease on something we're not using.
sure. And if it's a short-term lease, it's also hard to do anything to make any adjustments to what the other, you're also freeing up some property. If it's a short-term lease, you're not gonna wanna do anything with it either, if it's a real short-term lease.
Right. So I think a 10-year would really,
I think we also, for the town, we also have to put a little thought into what it means cost-wise to take that, to take that over.
absorb it.
Yeah.
And if we are going to do this, we need to have a building down there for Cliffy to be in, and we're going to have to put power in.
Yep.
Just so that we can have heat
Yep.
for him in the winter time and
Could we not use propane?
We could, but then we're running into darkness in the wintertime.
Right. It would be better if we had the ability to have some lights out there with Cliffy running till 4 o'clock in the afternoon or when he gets there first thing in the morning. And it would be nice just to have electricity there for a heater or an air conditioner in the summertime. As far as propane, I do think propane is a good option, but I think we'd be better off hardwiring it, personally.
I agree with that. I think it would be essential just to even have the place lit for either evenings or those early mornings when he does get there.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, do you have any feeling on that?
No, I think that I think the amount of traffic and things, I think the power, you have to look at that, because I think the lighting is a point too, especially if you're gonna have a lot more traffic going through there, pulling Route 7, pulling off Route 7. But all that stuff comes with,
So you're thinking like a street light type thing? I mean,
I'm not saying that, you don't
It's
make a
from
mountain out either.
7 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, and it doesn't really have to be
No.
at 7. It could start at 8, but
You may not, 'cause you're
yeah, it's pretty dark at 4:30, but,
I'm not saying anything has to be done, but I think he's not.
and it's probably a good idea to have electricity if, some tool needs to be run for some reason or something.
Cliffy's truck needs to be plugged in.
There you go.
Well, at the very least, I think there should be a light on the outside of the building.
And now that building has been moved a little bit in the past. Is it something that we can put on a flatbed or something and move down there, or?
That building right up there?
Well, I tell you what, the 3 times it's been moved, it's cost a 30-pack of beer each time, so.
That's not too bad, really.
So,
Price of moving.
somebody's gonna have to come up with a 30-pack for Bovie, and we'll try our best not to destroy it.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a pretty easy fix.
Do you have much animal issues down there?
Not that I'm aware of. I've never heard of any issues. It's never come up at any select board meetings that I've been part of or anything. Carl keeps us updated on pretty much everything you can think of, and he's never mentioned anything about it.
And on their dumpster, they have an electric fence set up around the top of it, and the power is hooked up to a chain link fence around the food scrap container.
I haven't been down in there in a while, so I should take a ride down in.
Yeah, that way you could visualize and,
Now, do you also have a spot like for tires and appliances?
Yeah, I think we got a small scrap metal bin, which, you know, that doesn't cost anything. They like to get that, they come pick it up. Yeah, we have a small little bay made out of some Jersey barriers and stuff for some odds and ends like that.
Because one of the things I'd like to see is the capability of, you get a new couch, you can take it to the dump, you don't have to hold it until next May or June when we have dump day.
That would be awesome. I agree with you. That ball would be in your guys' court, if you can make
And I
it
think
happen.
there's room
I think so.
to have a few more sites to,
Yeah, and, yeah, no, I don't wanna speak out of line, I can't speak, you know, for the town of Mount Tabor Select Board alone. But, yeah, you know, if you needed to move some mounds of stone around there, cause it is an old gravel pit. So, you know, if you needed to move something away to put a dumpster there, I don't see that being a problem. And I know there's some guys with some machines that are capable of doing that. So yeah, so if you get a chance, pull in there and see how you think it might work.
now back to the insurance. Does Mount Tabor use Vermont League of Cities and Towns?
Yes.
And so do we, so I think that would be fairly easy to add
Yeah.
that to the policy.
Yep, and I believe we'd have to figure out a way to combine our permits from the state of Vermont for the transfer station. I don't know if we would just null and void Mount Tabor's and you guys would update your permit for the...
Are you guys part of Rutland County Solid Waste District?
I believe so. I believe so.
And how does that work? Are we bound to be part of that, or is that just kind of a, does it give us some kind of privileges, or?
That was a question for Tom, right? Because he was talking to them about it.
He was talking to them about whether Mount Tabor was or not. Everybody in the district has a vote on things that come up throughout the district, and there is some formula they have as to how we generate garbage and what percentages gets paid back to them through, yeah, I don't even know how to word that, but basically they're the oversight for the waste haulers to make sure that things are being run properly and that the state's getting their fair share, what they feel they deserve, and they do come down to make sure that we are running it in compliance and will work with us for hazardous waste pickup and any issues that we have with
Yeah,
the
hazardous
dump.
waste pickup is a benefit.
But I believe that you either have to be part of the Rutland County Waste District or you have to be a member of SWAC. Don't ask me what that stands for because I don't remember.
I'm not familiar with that.
Who are you currently using for garbage carrying?
Hubbard's, I believe.
Using Hubbard's?
I believe.
I've heard that too. Well, it sounds like it's reasonably doable.
I know I've lived both in Mount Tabor and Danby, and I've used both transfer stations. I'm familiar with both of them. I personally don't see a reason why it wouldn't work. I think there's enough space down there, and I think the space is appropriate for the volume and the amount of people, the size of the two towns. I think it's a good a good idea. Definitely worth exploring.
Well, I think so too. I think we all, well, I can speak for myself, I think it's definitely worth exploring. I just want to
Yeah, and it's-
thought to make sure, looking at, before we say yes, we look into what it is, the actual cost to the town from changing, and what we think, minimum lease
Right.
is.
Yeah, well, we're not
some
gonna
details, but I
vote
think we all-
on it tonight, but we've
Right.
got some good.
But I definitely think it's worth exploring. We've talked about this for years. Since
Great.
So if you would take back to your board the idea of a 10-year lease.
Sure.
See how that flies.
Now, I understand from your guys' perspective that you wanna, it's gonna cost an initial investment to get it up and running, and you wanna make sure that that doesn't go to waste, and that it's, like I said earlier, the juice is worth the squeeze, basically, so.
The other thing I'd like to know, when you talk to Brad next, and I want to know it in a public meeting, I want to know it privately, is what you guys are paying Carl.
Yep.
So we can decide whether we want to try and incorporate Carl or not.
Yep. And I do have that number right now, but,
I'd rather not discuss that during a public meeting.
Yep.
Any other things we should be discussing?
I guess the only other thing I should say is the reason I don't want to discuss that in a public meeting is it's nobody's business what Mount Tabor's paying Carl, in my opinion. So I don't want anybody in the general public thinking I'm trying to be sneaky with what we're paying, but I don't want Carl's business on air.
I agree with you.
100%.
and like I said, Carl's been great over the years. It would be awesome if you could keep him on, but at the end of the day, that'd be up to you guys.
So your next board meeting is in January?
Second Tuesday of the month of January.
And our next board meeting is the second Thursday of January.
Okay. I'd be happy to.
Then we can, exchange emails in the meantime.
Absolutely. You're always welcome to come to our select board meetings, and I don't mind popping in on Thursday. I can come back, we'll have our meeting on Tuesday. I can relay the message, what you guys are thinking, about the 10-year lease, and I can come Thursday and let you know.
So it seems like the time is right to do this.
Okay. When's your lease up on your
It has expired, but it actually,
We've discussed it with Casellas, and we're going to continue to work off of last year's lease until we decide what we're doing.
Okay.
And then we're either going to renew or not.
And you guys are using Casella?
Yes.
and, because of that lease situation, we would like to move fairly fast.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think we're opposed to that.
Okay, last request for more discussion. Okay, Matt, thank you very much.
Hey, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you guys. Thanks for allowing me to bring my son here.
He's kind of tired.
Yeah, exactly. He's
Probably be asleep by the time you get home.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, next we'll move on to our treasurer's report.
So in regards to taxes, 95% of the tax money was collected in a timely manner. So only about 5% of it is delinquent at this point. For BROC loans, the fund balance is at $75,567.31. It consists, there's 5 loans out for a total of $35,416.60. And the question about the budget changes, at this point, it would raise the budget approximately 8%.
And what does that number look like?
90,000.
The increase?
90,000.
90,000?
Yes. Had a technical difficulty with printing the report,
That's okay.
but
Saved a few trees.
Just a few.
Let's see. So, 3.5 cent tax increase.
Last year we were down though, right? Very little percentage.
Yeah,
Can't remember what the number was.
don't even know that it was a whole percent. What do you have our tax rate from last year?
I do. Our tax rate last year was 0.4407 for this year. And, it's not on this one, bear with me a sec.
And of course, you know, we don't know until the listers do their listing how much the grand list goes up, so.
Previously, the year before, it was 0.4418. So it went down a little. I didn't really think to do the math between the two.
Slight increase in it from the year before.
Maybe 2, but don't quote me on that. I'm not good at math on the spot. Maybe 0.02 more, maybe. I was not expecting that question.
No, I'm just, and it's, you know, as I said, it's kind of premature because we don't know until the grand list is finalized, but, you know, just to give us an idea. And in today's world, $90,000 increase sounds pretty reasonable. But do you think we should have another early session before our January meeting? Because at the January meeting, we need to adopt a proposed budget. So there's probably going to be a few more numbers to crunch.
I'm not opposed to it.
No.
Because there's a couple numbers there we looked at, we wanted to revisit.
Right.
So,
And we'll have those answers hopefully by then. So, January, we'll have a budget work session at 6.
I think it's January 9th.
Is that a no, it's a calculator.
January 9th,
It's on my phone.
It's on your phone.
the 9th,
It's the 9th?
yes.
January 9th at 6 o'clock. Finalize the budget. Okay, anything else for us, Michelle?
No, that's all from me.
Okay, thank you. So then we have this obligation to appoint a liaison to the Vermont State Ethics Commission. Can be an employee or a member of this board.
Is there a description of what's really involved in it yet? It's the first I've seen of it or heard of it.
We just got this memo on the 2nd of December. I mean, I have heard of it, I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was coming quite so quickly.
Well, Tom's not here, we can point him.
That's usually what happens when
Very
people
good
don't
idea.
show up for a meeting.
So you have no idea what it entails? Or are you just not saying anything?
No, I don't have an outline of what it entails, no.
Liaison.
Spread the love.
You must have to fill out a survey, I'm sure that's part of it.
I'll look into it and get back to you. I'm gonna look into it before I say yes. Is that all right?
Yeah.
What does it have to be?
Well,
Have you appointed today? Obviously, because
the
January 1st.
requirement goes into effect
Yeah, our next meeting's January 9th.
January 1st.
I like the Tom idea.
Huh?
I like the Tom idea.
He can always resign from it, right? Okay, do I hear a motion?
Make the motion that we appoint Tom Fuller.
Is there a second?
You suggested it.
I'll second it.
A motion is made and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Not hearing any. All those in favor of Tom Fuller as the Ethics Committee liaison, say aye.
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 Congratulations, Tom. If you're watching from home,
You'll be up here in a minute.
Steve, would you take over on the road commissioner's report, please?
Well, about the only thing to say is that Pike is going to be putting a 5% increase on their the aggregate products and grants and aid reimbursement deadlines 12/31, and we didn't do any of those projects this year, so we don't have to worry about that. And as far as the other goes, we've been dealing with snow and a few washouts today that took precedence over everything else, and business as usual. Trucks are running good, and so far everything's doing what it's supposed to.
So the washout was just part of a road, it wasn't a culvert or anything?
It was a culvert that got plugged from sticks and leaves coming down the ditch from all the water we had, and when that plugged into the culvert, it jumped out and took probably about 100-foot long section of the road out, but it was only, the worst was probably that wide and 2 foot deep. Took just about 2 load of material to fill it in and fix the ditch and clean the culvert that plugged and the one below it. Everything should be good there till next year.
Good.
And next year we're going to upsize that culvert and change the inlet of it so that hopefully we can alleviate this problem in the future.
Great. Any questions for Steve?
How's our new guys working out?
Good.
Good.
Good. I had, I brought Matt in extra this week because we had Lafayette coming to fix the guardrail and we were dealing with snow and ice, so I had Matt come in so he could sit in the truck and work on roads while Larry and I got the lights set up for the guardrail company, so they had traffic control. And then he came in yesterday to work with us because I was supposed to be at a funeral and didn't make it, and since I'd asked him a week in advance, I kept him on, and he and I went around opening culverts and cutting some of the trees that the snow had leaned into the road. And Bob has been doing good on the trucks, and yesterday he spent just about the whole day greasing all the equipment and making sure that everything is taking grease the way it should be, and checking on some of the maintenance.
Awesome.
Very good. Okay, we'll move on to old business, and the question is, what is going on with the status of Courier Memorial School? Ken, do you have an update?
Yeah, I did speak down to Taconic Green a couple days ago. They have decided not to do anything at this point for the 25-26 school year. So they've kicked it out a year. They really have no decision at this point. I really think they might have faced more opposition than they anticipated. But, I mean, that's just my opinion, but, yeah, I was told that nothing's gonna change next year at this point. And my question to them was, you know, a budget idea. You know, are we going to have to maintain the school? But everything's gonna be as is for the next school year.
Doesn't really help you much 1 year at a time.
No.
You know, you ask for money for that playground and it's hard to get 1 year, you know,
Right.
it's still a decent amount of money for, and the kids kick 1 year, in my opinion. You know, they're asking for the playground, what do you move forward with that? I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but that's one.
Well, it's actually up to the trustees of public funds, not the select board, to make that award. But we can certainly tell them what our feelings are. So I guess we'll let that ride and let the trustees know about that too. Okay, so then new business. Are we ready to talk about questions to be put on the ballot, or do you want to let that go until January when we have to finalize the ballot?
I don't have a problem talking about what you wrote on here, we can talk about the treasures you want, I don't have a problem with it. You?
No. I mean, it's been brought up on the agenda.
Right.
Yeah, it's not the first time town's discussed it.
Correct. And where did it go? So, under Title 17 Vermont statutes, the term of office of a treasurer in an office on the date that the municipality votes to allow the legislative body to appoint a treasurer shall expire 45 calendar days after the vote. That would be if the vote was in the affirmative to have an appointed. The legislative body can ask this question of the voters for the position of treasurer, and it, as I said earlier, can also consider replacing listers with an assessor or a delinquent tax collector. It seems that we had the issue on with the delinquent tax collector, I think last year or the year before, and the town likes it the way it is, so I don't think we need to discuss that. But, it's becoming more and more difficult to find a qualified person who's interested in running to be treasurer. And, we've had kind of revolving door treasurers over the last 6 or 7 or 8 years. And, when you lose somebody due to a resignation, a lot of knowledge goes with them, and it takes a new person time to catch up. So I kind of hate to see that happening. And I can also tell you that I have had a lot of telephone calls about the hours that the treasurer keeps. And one of the things, the way it is now, a treasurer gets to decide what their hours are. Our current treasurer and the one before her do not have hours that necessarily correspond with regular business hours. Now, Michelle has 10 to 4, which is a lot better than a treasurer who was here from 5 in the morning till 8 in the morning or something. If it's an appointed position, it becomes an employee of the town, and the select board would set the hours. There's probably other things that I am not thinking of at the moment.
Now, if it becomes an appointed position and they become an employee of the town, not an elected official, how does that affect their benefits? Because then they would be considered a full-time employee.
Oh, they become.
How many hours does it take to be considered?
How many
full-time?
hours would somebody expect the treasurer to be here per week? You know, are we going to say that, well, the treasurer needs to be here 5 days a week? Is it going to be just 2 days a week? Because if we're only going with 2 days a week, we're still going to have phone calls of people saying, I can't get there, or they weren't there when I got there.
Well, if it's normal business hours, it's normal business hours, and that's when people should be expected to come. Now, Michelle, tell us, does 2 days a week seem to be correct, or are we too much or too little?
So I'm officially here 2 days a week, but I'm here after hours when it's quiet. During tax season, the last week I wish I was here more, but during tax season we were doing 20 hours a week, like, available, plus our time we were here.
Just you or you and Skylar were doing 20?
Myself and Skylar.
So between the two of you, you were
Between the two
doing
of us,
40
it was-
hours a week?
No, 20. 20 total.
So 10 each?
Yeah, 4 days,
Okay.
20 total. It was a little bit more for me, but it also, so every time we put anything out about it, we also offer, if the hours don't work, reach out, send an email, we'll make an appointment, those things. I don't think it matters if we were here 40 hours a week. There's certain people just can't get here. That's why, like, we did Friday nights 5 to 7, trying to catch those people who had to work. I don't think you can make everybody happy.
No, I don't think you can either, and I think that somebody who can't, for whatever reason, hand you a check in person, I don't see why they can't put a stamp on it and send it in the
Or
mail.
reach out.
or
We offered
drop it in
repeatedly
the
to,
Dropbox.
we could do other times, but nobody took us up on that. So it's hard to say. And I can't tell you how many hours it actually takes on account of when I stepped in here, the timing. Because the first week on alone, I had to set the tax rate, start doing the tax bills. Like, it's not a normal, it's very incredibly hectic and busy. So I can't tell you if the average hours a week would be 15 or 40.
Yeah, you
It really
came in
helped with
at the
that part.
absolute busiest time.
So I still go back to, you can't make everybody happy. I don't know.
I have a concern with, and it has worked out before, but at some time it's gonna bite us where we have a treasurer and that treasurer doesn't come back on due to the voting, and then, like you just said, when you come in here green, it's extremely hard to get a handle on everything.
It's intense. It's a lot more than, like, I expected it to be a lot, but it is a lot more going on than it seems. And yeah, someone coming in, it's not that simple.
Yeah, and it's not like certain jobs where while you're in a training period, you can concentrate on what you need to learn. Here, people are coming through the door, the phone is ringing.
That's how come if anyone's noticed my car here at 9 p.m., it's because the door's locked and I'm pretending I'm not here so I can just focus. Yeah, it is, there's a lot of distractions. So it does make it harder.
If you appoint a person, they become a town employee, aren't they become eligible for the union? Become a union member?
I don't know what the answer to that is.
Don't know either. That's kind of what I was part of what I was looking for when I asked about benefits, because I don't know if they would qualify to be a union member or not. I mean, from this side of the table, I would prefer not, but
Does that fall under our criterias?
Well, that's why I was wondering about how many hours make a full-time employee. Because if it's like the hours posted now are roughly a 16-hour week.
and that wouldn't be a fuldtime
That was
employee.
32 or something.
Because it's like 30 or 32 to be a full-time.
Depends on what's in your union contract. It would depend on what's in your union contract too, if it states hours.
The only thing on that I'm thinking is right now, the employees listed does not include treasurer.
Correct.
So I wouldn't think that.
Clerk, and it doesn't include listers.
Right, I wouldn't think they would be eligible for the union if we appointed somebody. And I almost, without the contract in front of me, I believe that, part-time employees are not eligible for union benefits anyhow.
Right.
But I don't
Because
have the
our
contract in front
part-time
of me,
people
so-
that we've hired now to help with winter roads are not eligible.
So basically what we're looking to do is appoint somebody like we did Michelle
Well-
and keep them at the current wages that we're paying, or?
We're looking to see if the voters feel it's a worthwhile idea. The
So,
voters have to vote to change it from an elected to an appointed position. All we can do is decide what questions can be put on the ballot.
20 hours for part-time. Which is...
Okay, so part-time employee is anyone who is hired and performs at least 20 hours but less than 40 hours of work in a regular basis. Part-time employees hired after 6/30/15 shall not be eligible for any health insurance benefits. That's all there is on part-time employees there.
Pretty sure they are eligible part-time ones are. It's just, I think the road is because they're temporary, like temp employees. That's how come the new guys don't count. But I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
So basically, we've got to ask the voters if they want to change it.
That's correct. So this ballot would look like whoever puts in nominating positions to run would be on that part of the ballot where you fill in the little circle. And then you have your list of other articles, and there would be an article that would read something like, shall the voters authorize the select board to appoint the town treasurer as provided by statute.
And if they okay that, it null and voids the first question.
Correct. And there's a 45-day period there. If there's somebody serving, but the way it's working right now, this is an appointed position that expires at town meeting. So I don't think that would come into play. And the way the cycle of things work, whoever runs for treasurer in March, it's just a 1-year term instead of a 3-year term, because there's a balance of a term to be filled out.
So we could be into another whole learning curve, starting over, crazy mess for another, there's possible 2 more years.
Well, there's two possible ways of doing that. If Michelle runs and 3 other people run and Michelle doesn't get reelected, you're training somebody new. And if the question passes and we appoint somebody, you're training somebody new, but hopefully you'd be looking through resumes of people with accounting backgrounds.
Well, I think that we should at least reach out and ask and see what the town wants to do. I think the right way to do it is to appoint someone. Just so we don't end up with a whole learning curve for the next, for a new year. And then if that person doesn't get reelected, then we have another learning curve.
Right. So would you care to make a motion to put that question on the ballot?
I will make a motion to put the question on the ballot to ask the voters to have the select board appoint the treasurer.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So that carried unanimously, and we will place that on the ballot. Okay, I didn't hear anything else for new business.
I will make the motion, we adjourn.
And there we go, at 8:07. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.